Hey guys, today we're taking a look at my Chrysler 300C SRT8, kind of a one-year ownership review of the car. So if you remember, I bought this last spring and I put about 4,000 miles on it last year, and I just did my first drive with it yesterday. So I want to show you guys the exterior, then take you on a little bit of a drive and give the pros and cons of this vehicle. But as you know, this is my secondary vehicle I like to drive, so it doesn't get used very much. And I did drive it a lot last year considering, so I did put about 4,000 miles on. Like I said, I did replace the front rotors and pads of these Brembo brakes. I want to say these are 14.3s now to match the back. And performs really well, but you can see I do need new tires. That's not a Chrysler thing, that's an SRT thing. So when you have these high horsepower vehicles, you know, you tend to burn off the tires. But looking at the exterior here for an 07, the paint is in phenomenal condition. I did do a paint correction on it, so it just shines. It's the brilliant black that Chrysler / Dodge uses on all their black vehicles. It really holds up well. I did put some trim restoration on some of the trim pieces, so it does look a little bit more black, and tinted the windows on it as well. The one thing that doesn't get used very much, and I probably should replace, are these Michelin wipers. But otherwise, everything looks really, really good. And everything works. Brakes are fine, no leaks underneath the engine. This is a custom grill. It looks really good. A lot of area to let the radiator breathe. And yeah, if you look underneath here, there is no leaks whatsoever. If you take care of these cars, they will take care of you. So any high performance car like this, you just need to do your routine maintenance, oil changes, everything like that. You know, change tires, brakes, any of the normal stuff, and you're okay. But yeah, I'm very, very happy after a year of ownership. Now, would I daily drive this? Yes, of course I would. But I don't, because I like to collect cars. So this is a secondary driver that I drive once in a while. Now, putting this up to the 10 to 12 to 15,000 mile daily driver test, how would it perform? Well, if you don't have the 180-degree thermostat installed, then you will notice temperatures do get higher. And same with my Challenger SRT8. That is something that I've noticed too, is that if you don't have that 180-degree thermostat put in, you will notice 200, 210, 220, stuff like that for your thermostat. But otherwise, I tend not to drive this, of course, in cold weather, except today it's in the upper 20s and no salt on the road, which is great. And I don't try to drive this vehicle when it's extremely hot, anything 85 or 90 degrees or over, because I don't like to put strain on the engine. But otherwise, this car has performed great. The suspension is still holding up excellent, and everything else is pretty reliable on this vehicle. A lot of people give Chrysler a lot of crap for their reliability, especially these older 2000s, early 2010s vehicles. But if you take care of it, like I said, it will take care of you. There is a BBK intake on the car, and it is a stock exhaust. But we'll pop the hood here and show you that area. Paint is looking just gorgeous on this hood. So here's the engine bay. Looks damn near brand new. I'm very happy with how this cleaned up. Here's the BBK filter. Now, as you can see, I just need to blow some air in there, or take a vacuum and vacuum that out a little bit, or just take it off and clean it. As you know, there is some debris and stuff in there, but overall, engine bay is good. This has stayed at about this level for the last year, so I'm not too worried about that. Batteries held up well. Engine mounts, everything like that has held up very well. So there's that Hemi orange block, which is just awesome. Pretty cool. This This is a icon of American ingenuity, and I am proud to own it. Very, very proud to own it. So that's it on the exterior. Let's hop in. We'll go over the interior and go over some of the driving characteristics here. Going over the interior here, you can see it's held up pretty well. There is a little bit of discoloration there, and I believe that's from me with the detailing product I used. But the leather seats have held up excellent. There's really no creaks or rattles in this vehicle at all. As you can see, I have some of my stuff in the seat. Seats look just phenomenal. We'll pop the trunk here. Again, rear seats never sat in except for the occasional hand press or cleaning that I do. Rear seats look great. There is actually a ton of room in the rear seats as well. And whenever I sit back here, they're really, really comfortable. The sound system in this is the Kicker sound system, which I will show you, and that is phenomenal. This is probably one of the best sound systems I've ever had in a vehicle, and it's better than the Harman Kardon in my truck, and it is right up there with the Harman Kardon in the Mercedes GLE AMG that we also have. So let's hop in here, take this puppy out for a spin, and give you my thoughts. All right, so we just started the 300 up. Now, first thing you're gonna notice here, you do have your heated seats and your automatic climate control, which is great. But first thing you're going to notice here is how connected you are to the vehicle at startup, and a lot of analog buttons here, a lot of analog gauges. This is before the time of the Uconnect touchscreen, so you are dealing with a infotainment system, but it's all button controlled. So I do have to say, this is a very large vehicle when you get behind the wheel. Very similar to driving my Challenger, actually, but it is just a joy to drive. Now, the one downfall about this vehicle that you probably have read about, if you're watching this video, is the fact that this 5-speed transmission from Mercedes is very old, and it is not super responsive. And when I was buying my Challenger, that is exactly why I bought the 6-speed manual. So there's no sport mode, there's no active tune suspension, which the suspension I do want to touch on, but at a different point. This transmission is very slow. I'm trying to figure out how to describe it, but any of you who drove a mid-2000s vehicle, that's basically what it's like. It's a 5-speed transmission that is very slow to react, and it isn't necessarily the fastest to shift. So that little bit of torque that I put down right there just spun the back tires. Of course, these tires aren't great, so what are you gonna do? But the steering wheel and the position of the driving here is excellent. You feel like you have a commanding view of the road. You feel bunkerized in this too. You know, not to a point where you're like huddled in it, but to a point where like, oh yeah, I'm in a big car, I have a commanding view of the road, I have a road presence to myself, and I feel very safe in this vehicle as well. Although this does sit pretty low to the ground, I almost feel like it sits maybe an inch lower than my Challenger does. So that is kind of a cool thing there. It definitely doesn't have a ton of body roll, but touching on the suspension here, this is softer sprung than other SRT products because it is a Chrysler. So that's the first thing you're going to notice here. The dampers, the suspension, I would say is about 20% less than, or less stiff than my Challenger is, and that's totally okay for me. Totally okay. I don't mind that at all. I like a comfy cruising ride when I am driving, and that is what this is giving me here. A Challenger is more of a sports car. even though it is still a muscle car. But this is a muscle car. I don't mind it being floaty. Don't get me wrong, it's still stiffly sprung. That's for sure. But it is a joy to drive. This does have manual mode in it, so you can roll through the gears, all 5 gears. It isn't much. Sometimes the shifts get a little bit hard, so I tend to not put it in manual mode that much, and I don't know if that's something that is unique to my Chrysler or all 5 speeds do this. This is my first experience with this Mercedes 5-speed, so I am not sure if that is a Chrysler thing or my car specifically. Sometimes, like I said, shifts can get a little rough. But overall, the transmission has not failed me, and it's been good. Over 76,000 miles so far. I feel pretty confident driving this thing. The steering is very precise. It is numb. Even though it is hydraulic, it is numb. There's not much steering wheel here, or steering feel, I should say, on the wheel. But it is very precise. It isn't, I mean, on center, it's very sharp. It isn't very numb. And it doesn't bounce back and forth either. So I'm very happy about that. Now, the newer SRT wheels are quite cool. But this has the older style wheel, so it's very large and round and kind of thin. But now, yeah, just a little bit of the pedal about halfway. This puppy puts down the power and it comes to life. Anything I found over 3,000 RPMs with that BBK cold air intake, the intake noise itself is so powerful. You hear that, but you don't hear the exhaust. And I am totally fine with having a stock exhaust on this vehicle and having a really good intake sound. I love intake noises, and this BBK cold air intake has a fantastic intake noise that you can actually hear over the exhaust and over everything else. So I appreciate that. It sounds like the 6.1 liter is breathing fire, spitting out fire. So that's something you don't get in the cars of today, except if you go with a 6.4 Hemi or the Hellcat. But just driving this thing and cruising with it. I have had some time to take it on some back roads and some corners. It is very fun to throw around those corners too. This is more of a sweeping vehicle though than a precision sports car. Clearly, because it's huge, this is a huge vehicle. But I've really enjoyed my time with it. I really don't have any complaints on it. You know, looking at this from the secondary car ownership or the, you know, non-daily driver ownership aspect of it, this is the perfect car for me. And I was so torn with buying that Challenger. Am I going to sell this car? Am I going to sell it? The only way I would sell this is to buy a Charger, an older Charger with the Plum Crazy color, or a 300 with less miles. But this is truly my dream car, and I am so glad to own it. I've wanted this car ever since I was a child, basically, ever since I was 8, 9 years old when they came out with this car in 2005. And to say I actually bought it is pretty damn cool. So overall, if you're taking a look at one of these beautiful vehicles, do your vetting, do your research first. This is a high performance machine, one of the highest horsepower mass production vehicles made.